And so we're back. Welcome to Session 1 for EDU 653, Supervision. If we think of our first question, we talked about course introduction and requirements, and I'd like you to think about Chapter 1 in the text, Supervision, and I'm just going to go through some of the highlights. The Session 1, this Chapter 1 PowerPoint is available on Canvas, located here. If you go to January 22nd and scroll down to Session 1, Chapter 1 slides and Chapter 2 slides. So what I want to do is just give you a little bit of background. So we want to think about the key issues that foster supervision, and we certainly want to have a collegial approach. You're going to look in the book and discriminate between Finney-Tyler, Germondo, and Progress Middle School. Each of the three schools have very different leadership styles, and as you're thinking about that, I want you to think about what leadership style you think you might espouse and what leadership style you are currently being exposed to. There's not really a right or wrong answer, but there certainly might be a more preferred style. As you're thinking about the style, keep in mind the effects in the school culture, how that affects the students, the characteristics of the school, and the effects on the teachers. When you're putting together the pieces and mapping out your school plan as an assistant principal or principal, I want you to think about these topics: direct assistance, group development, professional development, developing the curriculum, action research and collecting the data, facilitating change, looking at diversity, and how do you build community. So again, think about the three examples here in Finney-Tyler, Germondo, and Progress, and then think about those three styles: congenial, conventional, and collegial. What do you believe is the best approach to use with each of these schools? And think about its place in each of these schools. When we define collegial supervision, we're looking at making contacts and relationships, focusing on growth, collaboration, and collective inquiry. These key pieces are very important when we're looking at supervising in a school. If you are the supervisor, whether you're a department chair, an assistant principal, a principal, you have a certain set of prerequisites: your knowledge, the interpersonal skills, the way in which you relate with people, and technical skills. You're going to use that to form your supervision, and as you're supervising, and of course this is intentionally supervision with a capital V, as you supervise, you want to think about these different tasks: direct assistance, group development, professional development, curriculum, and action research. And exactly how are you going to accomplish these tasks and get to improve student learning, and in what ways would you prioritize these tasks? And that may be an activity that will come up later. Also want to look at the inquiry process, which essentially this is a snippet of school improvement. You have your focus, you want to gather and analyze data, you reflect on that data, you make a plan, and then you want to implement it. It's in a circular diagram because this is continuing throughout the school year. Glickman talks about supervision as being the glue to pull everybody together. So be thinking about that as you're doing your readings. Think about how you would define instructional supervision, and then the two terms supervision with a capital V and supervision as one word. Is there a difference? As we also think about supervision, we want to consider who does supervision and who is responsible in each building or at the school level or district level, and then think about how you connect that to the purpose and what success you want to see. In the second PowerPoint, I want to go over a couple of highlights as well. Our essential question is, why are schools ineffective in promoting student learning and collaborative cultures? So you want to think about some of the things that are pitfalls or obstacles, because as a successful school leader, you need to be aware of those, consider those, and address ways to remove those obstacles or overcome those challenges. So here's a contrast in the reading. Meadow Valley Middle School, Mountain View Middle School. You can look at areas of time, values, the norms, quality of time, work ethic, communication, and expectations. Then when we look at these pieces, we see, and I want you to think about your own experience in school today, your routine, conservatism. Did you have an inadequate teacher induction? Are you not involved with the curriculum? Do you feel frustrated or isolated? And if you think about your colleagues, I'm sure several of these may apply, and I want you to think about where you fall on ranking these and their influence. Here's another step to consider. With inadequate beginning teachers, that's another very vital piece in supervising, especially if you're in a school where there are many new teachers, because if they do not have resources, a difficult assignment, or expectations are not clear, certainly these can have a huge influence in managing the faculty and driving student achievement. Additional influences you need to think about: assignments, grade levels, pressure from the state, day-to-day, routine, and directives and pressure from the school board. Inequity is an additional topic that you do see that comes up with resources. Look at experienced and beginning teachers. Think about their assignments, the resources, materials that they have. How does it work in your building? Low income compared to affluent communities, low income and minority students, placement of these groups, facilities, and funding are all different pieces in a school culture and school that you need to consider. And as you strive for collegial supervision, you want to consider building relationships between teachers and supervisors. You want to focus on their growth. You want to develop collaborative inquiry and reflection. Think about your own school culture, and these are some topics that may be influential in playing into your development of your culture. Also think about the role of supervision. What are the norms? What is the role of supervision of instruction? What's the work environment like? What is the collective action, and how are you going to reshape the schools? And we'll close with this reflection. Analyze in what ways characteristics of successful schools are connected to your own work environment and building leaders. Consider that in your current environment, or talk with a colleague to get their insight. And this concludes the videos for session 1.